Hey guys, welcome back here to Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to check the episode out today. And guys, today we're going to be talking about fishing finesse jigs, and I'm going to give you a complete seminar, a complete tutorial on how I like to fish finesse jigs. I've been fishing them forever, guys, and there's a lot of differences about fishing a finesse jig versus a full-size jig. For example, here is my Blaukat Throwback jig, which is a full-size jig. And here's my Blaukat Power Finesse Throwback jig, which is a finesse jig. So you can see it's quite a bit smaller and the components are different, we're gonna talk about. And there's specific situations where a finesse jig will really outfish about anything. It'll outfish a creature bait, a worm, a full-size jig, a shaky head. We're gonna identify what those are in today's video, and definitely think it's gonna add up to some nice fish for you guys. And also, guys, I will put this is my Blaukat Power Finesse Throwback jig, living rubber, frog hair skirt. It's one of the only jigs on the market that is hand-tied living rubber, made by Cumberland Pro Lures. The attention to detail on this jig, guys, is second to none. Super awesome, stiff little small hook in it, a offset eye tie in there. It's got the perfect amount of strands in the weed guard. Living rubber is the superior skirt for a finesse jig, guys, and it's one of the only ones on the market. So I'll have both of these jigs, my Power Finesse jig and my Blaukat Throwback jig, which is also living rubber. I'll have them in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video. If you guys would like to just go in the video description, I got both jig links in there. You can get you set up. We got 7 different colors on both jigs, 3 different sizes, about any color you want in there. So you can check them out over there on that. Appreciate that. And also, guys, real quick, before we get started, anybody interested in booking a private on-the-water lesson with me to learn how to fish finesse jigs or anything, shoot me a private message on my Facebook page, Intuitive Angling with Randy Blaukat, for details, so appreciate that. Okay, guys, I've been fishing a finesse jig forever. Actually, the modern day finesse jig that you see all the companies have on the market, it started here in Springfield, Missouri, where I live at. A guy named Jim Akins, who passed away a few years ago, designed what's called the Akins jig. And Jim did really good. He won a bunch of local and regional tournaments on it. It became famous here in the Ozarks, and people started picking up on it. This was probably about the, I don't know, mid-90s, something like that, where that really started kicking in, early 90s maybe. And it's been a staple ever since. And now a finesse jig has largely taken the place of a full-size jig for a lot of anglers. There's a lot of bass fishermen that never fish a full-size jig, but they do fish a finesse jig. And I've seen this evident like in tournaments. If you go around and look at what guys have tied on, if they got a jig tied on, a lot of times it's a finesse jig, for good reason, because you get a lot more bites on them. So I'm gonna give you guys my opinion. It's like, I've been fishing finesse jigs, like I said, since the early to late 1990s. I've got a system that works for me. I'm gonna show you guys how I set them up and the type of cover and the conditions I fish them in. So first of all, before I get into the conditions, I wanna talk about the jig per se, in particular. There's a couple different color options that I really like. I like any type of green or brown with a little purple in it. Straight brown is good. I mean, I've caught a lot of fish on a straight brown. Brown and orange is good in the springtime of the year. Any type of a brown color is one of my favorite colors for a finesse jig. And if I'm in clear water, I will use the green pumpkin here. We do make the Blaukat Power Finesse jig. We do make one silicone option. This is it's called the Blaukat Clear Water Special here for water visibility, like over 4 foot for clear water applications, which we don't use a lot. But for the most part, I'm gonna guess that probably 90% of my finesse jig fishing is either some type of brown, solid brown, brown purple, brown orange, or some type of a green pumpkin. Those are the finesse jig colors I really like. I occasionally will fish a black and blue one, but not very much. You can't go wrong with brown. If you go in that link, guys, and you want to buy one color, you can't go wrong with just solid brown. Solid brown is a great color for it. So that's pretty much, keep it simple with that. Now, on both jig colors, I use green pumpkin trailers all the time. The only difference that I use is sometimes I will dye a little bit of the tail chartreuse or orange, and sometimes I'll leave it plain. If the water visibility is like under 2 foot, a lot of times I will put a little chartreuse or a little bit of orange on the tip of the tails And if that water visibility is over about 2 foot, I just leave them straight green like that. There's 2 trailers that I use, and that's the only 2 trailers I use pretty much. I use the Zoom Super Chunk Junior, which this is right here, and then I'll use the Zoom Twin Tail right here. These are the 2 that I use. Based upon a couple different conditions we'll talk about, I'll put those Zoom trailers in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of the video too. Here's where I use, let me talk a little bit about both. Most of the time, when I'm fishing a finesse jig, I got the Super Chunk Junior on it. That's my confidence bait, my confidence trailer, catch a ton of fish on it. The times that I use the Twin Tail are 2 different scenarios. If I'm fishing some pretty clear water, like water visibility over 3 or 4 foot, I like the Twin Tail because it has the visual leg action. And another time, if I'm flipping and pitching boat docks, I do like a Twin Tail around boat docks. I don't know what it is, but I get a lot of bites around docks on the Twin Tail. But you know, those are the 2 scenarios. For all the other applications that we'll be talking about, the Super Chunk Junior is my favorite trailer with that. And then most of the time, I'm coupling it up. I've got a usually 7 foot, 2 inch medium heavy bait cast rod. My favorite's that Megabass Perfect Pitch. I got the Cast King reel on it. I use a variety of Cast King reels. All the links are in the description. And then based upon the cover and the clarity I'm fishing, I'll use anywhere between, say, 12-pound test, Seagar and Vizex fluorocarbon, all the way up to 20. Because my Power Finesse jig, guys, it has a stiff hook in it. So you can actually flip this on 20-pound line, and you can flip it into heavy cover, yet the hook is small enough where you can also use it on 12-pound line. So this hook we spent a lot of time designing this hook and getting the size and the gap just right on it. So it will handle line tests between 12 to 20-pound tests, and even lighter than 12. But 12 is about the lightest I ever go on a finesse jig, even if the water is extremely clear. So that's sort of the scenario I work with it. And a little bit, let me show you a little bit how I work a finesse jig, because it's different than a full-size jig. Now, a full-size jig, when I make my cast with a full-size jig, I do a lot of hopping like that. You know, I want that, this is a big bait, so I hop it pretty high off the bottom for a reaction strike. But when I'm fishing the finesse jig, I don't hop it like that. I'll just throw it out there and work it more like a worm. I'll just sort of shake it in one spot like that and then pull it a little bit. Shake it in one spot, you know, shake it without reeling it and pull it a little bit. I just get more bites like that. I think one of the reasons that the hopping works good, again, on that full-size jig, it's a big bait. And, you know, a lot of times the fish will look at that full-size jig, and if you don't create that reaction bite by snapping it and popping it hard, you don't get as many bites on it. But since the finesse jig is a lot more, you know, diminutive, you don't have to do that. You can just sort of just shake it and vibrate it in one spot and catch a lot of fish with that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the meat and potatoes of the video, and that is the conditions it works in, where you want to throw it, all that type of stuff. Now, there are very few lures that are made that work 12 months out of the year in a variety of conditions. A finesse jig is one of just a handful of lures that literally will work in any water condition, any water temperature. I have caught bass on finesse jigs when the water temperature is below 40 degrees and when it's been about 90 degrees and everything in between. There are hardly no baits I can say that about. A finesse jig is probably the #1 most versatile bait as far as the conditions go. I've caught them in all different water temperatures. I've caught them when half the lake was frozen over, and I've caught them when it's so hot you can't even hardly stand up, again, and everything in between. And I've also caught them in a wide range of water visibilities. I have caught them in dirty water, water visibility under a foot, and I've caught them in water visibility of 15 to 18 foot clarity. I've caught them like down at Beaver Lake in Arkansas on the lower end of the lake where you have 15 foot of clarity. I've caught them on jigs, finesse jigs there. And I've caught them pitching and flipping dirty water on the Potomac River where, you know, I was flipping lily pads and grass where the water visibility was 6 inches and everything in between. It's a very, very versatile bait in terms of conditions go. So that's one thing that you have to remember with it. Now, the type of cover that you want to fish with it and, you know, how the areas, it's based upon the lake you're fishing and the seasonal patterns. It's like, A finesse jig will literally work on any body of water. It works on any species of bass. I've caught finesse jig. I caught largemouth spotted bass, smallmouth, shoal bass, all of meanmouth bass, all of them on finesse jigs. And I've caught them on a wide variety of cover. I've caught them in lily pads and grass on the Potomac River. I've caught them in around cypress trees on the Chaffalay Basin. I've caught them flipping reeds with it in Florida. I've caught them on every type of wood that you can imagine, lay down trees, stumps, logs, all that type of stuff, boat docks. They're great around bluffs. They're great around rocky banks. They're just, as you can tell, they work anywhere and everywhere. So here's let me run through how I like to fish a finesse jig through the year. Now, early in the year, when I'm talking about like December through about first part of April, I fish nothing but rock with them. And I fish mainly bluff banks and steep channel banks. Bluff banks and channel banks are great places to fish a finesse jig. So one of my favorite colder water techniques is to get on those channel swing banks. Some of them can be bluff banks. Some of them might be just steep rocky banks. Just cast that finesse jig up to the bank and work it down into 5 to 25 foot of water, depending upon how clear the water is. Really, really good way to catch them. Most of the time, between like December and first part of April, those fish are going to be anywhere between 5 to 20 foot. Again, depending upon your water visibility. Obviously, dirtier the water, shallower they're going to be, and vice versa. I stay with that up until that water temperature starts to get in the 60s. And once they start getting in the 60s, right around the spawn, there's a little bit of a lull, and they don't bite it that good in and around the spawn. But then again, they start it up in the post spawn, and it lasts the rest of the year. Now, my focus, once the spawn is over, and once they start to get in the post spawn period, that's when I transition to wood or grass. If I'm fishing a grass lake that has vegetation in it, I concentrate on grass and vegetation. If I'm fishing a man-made lake, I'm targeting any wood I can find. Lay down trees, logs, stumps, boat docks are great. If you could give me two places to fish finesse jig, it would be boat docks and bluffs, or boat docks and channel banks. Those are the two best spots for it. Boat docks are outstanding for finesse jigs once that water temperature gets warmer. Probably I would rate a finesse jig as probably my #1 choice for fishing boat docks day in and day out. So that's, file that away in your memory. It doesn't matter if it's a piling dock like the Coosa River or the TVA lakes, or floating docks like in my part of the country. They just work awesome around docks. So that's going to be my main focus up until later in the fall. And once you start to get later in the fall time of the year, like especially towards the end of October, like October and November and sometimes into early December, they make a transition off of the wood again and they start to get on the rock again, but they get deeper. Now, when I fish a finesse jig from about October into early December, this is when I'm fishing the finesse jig the deepest I fish it all year long, because the thermoclines have broke up, and one of my favorite ways to catch them in the fall time of the year, especially if you got water visibility that's pretty clean, is all get on those bluffy banks and those channel banks again, just like I was in the pre-spawn, but I fish it a lot deeper. I'll fish it down 25, 30, sometimes 40 foot of water. I have caught them on finesse jigs in 40 to 50 foot of water on Bull Shoals and Table Rock Lake in the fall time of the year. Those bass will get deep on the bottom in the fall. Finesse jig's a great way to catch them with that. So anyway, guys, that's just a few of the ways I like to fish a finesse jig. It's an outstanding bait. It's one of those baits you've got to learn to fish. It's like you can get by with not fishing a full-size flipping jig, because you can probably catch them on creature baits and stuff too. But a finesse jig is a category that you cannot duplicate, and you've got to get good with it. So anyway, guys, check it out. Check them out. My Cumberland Blaukat Power Finesse Throwback jigs. They're in my description link in this video here, under my Tackle Warehouse link. Get you some of them. I promise you guys you'll get some good fish on them. So hope it helps.